All right. Let me just double check. I see it on Periscope, Trovo, D Live, Facebook, and YouTube, and Twitch, hopefully. And of course, TalkStream Live and JLP Live. Those are the live audio feeds. You can, I believe there is a call-in number. Let me just make sure that I retweet the Hake report tweet about my Periscope stream. I am James Hake. This is the Hake Report. It's 9:01 a.m. already, U.S. Pacific Standard Time. It's Wednesday, February, 10th, 2021. Second, day 2 of this phony impeachment thing. I haven't paid much attention to it at all. But I did hear that there was drama on both sides. You may have seen it in the first hour of the Jesse Lee Peterson show if you watched that or listened. I do recommend checking that out. That's it's a good show there, right? I will be getting to your calls, 888-775-3773. Crazy censorship. Twitter says they're not going to let their CFO, whatever that is, says that they're not going to let Trump back on, even after he's been exonerated, completely exonerated of having incited any violence or anything whatsoever evil with his perfect January 6th speech and his perfect tweets. His tweets have been nothing but perfect. But they want to say, oh, he's glorifying violence. Joel happens to know that CFO means Chief Financial Officer. Wow, impressive. That's what CFO stands for, at least in some cases. And what else? I don't know why the CFO is involved in that or has any business talking about that, right? Revolver is whistleblowing on Joe Biden's corruption in the Justice Department, corrupting our justice field. You know, the liberals were mad because President Trump was appointing all of these judges after judges after judges. Well, he also appointed some prosecutors who may have been fairly decent. And Biden's getting rid of those. I have the names of at least the last names, of the 6 sleazy senators for the Republican Party who voted to continue with this fake impeachment. Some women and some female-minded males, right? It's ridiculous. Information courtesy of Revolver News. There's mixed messages on whether Trump is happy or unhappy with his defense team. I heard people making fun of his defense lawyers, as well as the people posturing like they care about the country. You know, the Democrats who are trying to so-called impeach this guy or convict him or whatever. He was already impeached, right? Fake impeached twice now. I guess it's a badge of honor now. And no real basis for this scare and for these shutdowns, these communist shutdowns in the name of protecting people from COVID. And Joe Biden, his administration, is giving major mixed messages. And there are problems. And I can share with you a little bit of the drama that's happening with parents, with children who are not allowed to go to schools, even homeschools. Did you know that homeschoolers, many of them have they meet together amongst themselves, like multiple different homes come together? Well, you're not supposed to mix households under these stupid COVID rules, right? And so even the homeschool kids' lives have been disruptive. By kids, I mean children. And another Republican, by the way, died with COVID. He too had some other health problems. I had told you about a 41-year-old guy who died, and it turned out that it wasn't COVID that killed him, it was a heart attack. And yes, it is a fact that the flu exacerbates the risk of heart attacks. It's a fact. The flu. Not just COVID, but the flu too, FYI. So I think there's some extra drama just being ginned up for the sake of the control freaks. The control freaks include the media, the females, the liberals, the people who scare easily, and the people who look down on you for being free, for not necessarily wearing a mask all the time like a Nazi or like a commie, I should say. Anyway, all that in your calls. Let's get on with the show.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, money isn't everything, right? You know how the Democrats are pretending, oh, we're going to give you guys $2,000, like what Trump originally wanted, right? Hey, I can now see, I think, that I can now see Trovo chats in my regular Restream chat. I think. Let me test it. That's cool. Yes. Awesome. I stream through this service called Restream, and this service may sometimes be spotty. It may be the reason for sometimes when we shut down. It may not always be someone get Bill's fault. Because we have black engineers, and we have some boomer tech going on, and all kinds of things potentially can go wrong with high-tech stuff. Yeah, that's cool. But Restream is trying to make improvements to their stuff too. But Restream is a service through which I stream out to YouTube, DLive, Facebook, Trovo, what is this thing called? Periscope, and more. Twitch. Shout out to the Twitch people, the few, the proud. That's cool. And who knows what's going to happen. But it may be the reason for some of the problems at times. I wonder who else streams on Restream and experiences these issues. I don't know. But, yeah, finally they've incorporated the Trovo live chat into my compilation of all of the chats. Nice. Trovo is buffering like crazy, though, says Wiggy Dog. Change the pixels. Yeah, so I don't know who to blame. If you are experiencing buffering, try to lower your resolution that you're getting. I don't know. Or you can go to the audio feed or go to a different platform. Okay, there are many to choose from. I'm streaming on 6 video platforms and 2 audio platforms that I know of. I'm hearing that Trovo is buffering too much. Anyway, plays okay on 360p, which is low resolution. I'm going to get to your calls, but I wanted to talk about this fact that the CFO confirms that Trump won't be allowed back on Twitter again. And the whole fake premise was after the January 6th, or amidst the January 6th situation, right? January 6th is when the Congress, the joint session of the House and the Senate came together under Vice President Mike Pence, who's the president of the Senate, right? When he was president, or vice president, to confirm the electoral college votes, right? And Trump was like, I hope Pence does the right thing, but he did not. But, you know, people got to make their decisions. They got to weigh the risks. It's a big responsibility, especially when everybody else failed leading up to him, right? I'm referring to Pence and everybody who failed before Pence. Because you can't just blame it on Pence. You got to blame everybody from the bottom all the way to the top. So he will not be allowed on Twitter after his account was banned last month, according to a company executive on Wednesday morning. If you are removed from the platform, you are removed from the platform, Twitter CEO Ned Sagal said, saying the ban applies whether you're a commentator, a CFO, or whether you're a former or current public official. Twitter permanently suspended him January 8th, soon after the breach of the Capitol building. They alleged, without evidence, that the former president's final tweets had incited violence, although no criminal charges have been filed against him. And you know what? When you read their explanation, all they were doing was making up stuff from their own imagination based on what he was saying. And it makes me understand why they suspended me and forced me to delete tweets. Did you know that happened to me? I've told this story before. After Obama's portrait artist put out this weird-looking portrait of him amidst a bunch of ivy or something like that, people dug up his portrait artist's prior work that showed black females holding knives and carrying disgusting, gory images of decapitated white women's heads. White women's heads. I mixed up the WH sound on those two words. And it's kind of interesting, right? Blacks fantasizing about beheading white women. Right? Isn't that kind of gross? Yes, it is. And you know what? This stuff happens in real life. In South Africa, whites are getting tortured and murdered and raped and robbed and all kinds of stuff. Targeted attacks. And yes, they're also murdering one another because they have no love, period. Right? The blacks over there in South Africa. Murder rate is through the roof. It's as bad as any of our cities, only nationwide. That's what I hear. It's like Baltimore all over the country, right? It's ridiculous. And here in America, the black on white crime. Blacks kill more than twice as many whites as vice versa. And that's raw numbers. Blacks are like a fifth of our population. Their population is like something like 45,000. We're like 200,000 whites, non-Hispanics, I think. So we have 4 to 5 times as many, right? And they're still killing twice as many of us as we are of them. We have more suspects to go around, right? We could have more suspects to go around. Granted, the pickings, we have many more pickings to kill, but they're making it happen. Anyway, those are the raw numbers. And in practice, you just look at how blacks are just nasty and hateful towards whites and make crazy assumptions, prejudgments. They're encouraged to do so by the liberal media who also hate whites. And so Twitter follows in that mindset of just hating whites, including Trump, because Trump represents the best of the whites. He tells the truth. He's a Christian. He's conservative. He's old. He's rich. And he's a man of courage. So they hate him. Disgusting. So this Ned Segal guy is standing by it. And they're having a fake impeachment. But this fake impeachment has been completely exposed that, no, his comments at the rally of January 6th, which was called a Stop the Steal rally. It did not stop the steal, but I love the effort, right? And many people were falsely smeared over this rally, too. Many peaceful people. Trump is being so-called impeached, but it turns out that the people who were rioting, that had been pre-planned. Yes, there were some who got caught up in it and went along with it. There were some who had no intention of going in, and they saw everybody going in. Hey, let's go in. Let's have fun. Trump would be happy. We're supporting him. You know, the Baked Alaskas. Let's say that Baked Alaska had no idea, Baked Alaska being a sort of a goofy guy, makes money streaming, right? Or used to anyway. He went in there being all airheaded. But there were people who planned this too, prior, according to the FBI, which, can you believe them? I don't know, but that's what they say. And there probably is evidence. I think there were bombs that were planted. I don't know if any bombs went off around the Capitol, right? There were bombs that were planted prior to everything. And they invaded the building before. Yeah. Take care, Business Bear says, Baked Alaska is a retard. He says that lovingly, Baked. He's still relevant? Asks Mr. Scissor Pants. Hey, man, nice to see you. No, but he's useful for smearing our side, right? That's why they bring up all these people. They drudge up Dr. Duke on CNN, Dr. David Duke, to caricature him and his views, and then caricature the whole right as being that caricature. It's silly. The alt-right. Remember Hillary Clinton's speech? Anyway, that was pre-planned, so it wasn't Trump's speech that incited it, and it wasn't Trump's prior tweets. Because everybody knows and has been complaining for years before Trump ever came on the scene complaining about voter fraud. We've been concerned about voter fraud for years, decades, maybe. In fact, the liberals were crying voter fraud after the 2000 election. Remember with the hanging chads over in Florida and the recounts? George W. Bush beat Al Gore, and people were like, oh, Al Gore was robbed. He should have been the president. What a mess. So, on false pretenses, he was banned. Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth saying, oh, it sets a dangerous precedent, but it had to be done. And then he goes on and talks about how he wants a decentralized social media so that people have freedom of speech. What a sleazy, lying, talking out of both sides of his mouth communist, right? Enemy of America. Twitter, Facebook, Google, all of them. Apple, Amazon, all of them. Angela Merkel. Angela Merkel did not like that. But she's out of both sides of her mouth. AMLO is against it. Emmanuel Macron. The French president and the Mexican president. He's all, I do not celebrate or feel pride in our having to ban Trump from Twitter, says Jack Dorsey. You didn't have to. You're a coward. You kiss up to the radicals who work for you. Coward. Female-minded liberal. Anyway. So that's that. And I just chuckle when I think about the people crying at this impeachment hearing. This impeachment trial. It's so silly. Speaking of drama, I will get to this story of these parents who are struggling with their children because they're not used to having to deal with their children and be actual parents in many cases, right? The society has been set up so that they feel like the women have to work in order to get that income, get that second income, and get enough money to maintain their lifestyle. Cheesehead says Dorsey was screeching in glee when he banned Trump. Yeah. But first, let me get at least one or two calls out of the way. 888-775-3773. Let me get to my second favorite caller. Earl wants to talk about this impeachment trial, this second fake impeachment trial. Let's see if what he's fallen for this time. What's up, Earl? How are you doing?
Hola. Buenos dias.
Hey. You sound like you're on a speakerphone. By the way, this Jamie Raskin guy, he's like a human caricature. That's just a side note. A silly person. Silly. That anybody falls for what these Democrats talk about, it's ridiculous. Earl, are you on a speakerphone? You don't sound right.
No, I'm not on it anymore.
Okay, why are you on a speakerphone? You know better.
Well, I was on it before you clicked in.
Hello? He hit mute. Says Joel. Come off of mute, boomer. I say that lovingly. I love boomers. Earl, you hit mute, and we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
I accept your apology.
But
He old.
you guys don't have to worry about the president being impeached. He won't be convicted.
Right.
I mean, he is impeached, but he won't be convicted.
Yeah, it was a fake impeachment anyway. Don't you
spineless?
Don't you agree? It's so cheap. It just cheapens the word impeachment. Both of these past impeachments have made the whole notion of impeachment just cheap. And the fact that Obama wasn't impeached also cheapened the notion of impeachment because he should have been. Did you hit mute again? What the? You hit mute again. He mute.
Sorry about that.
He said, sorry about that. It's a big joke to him, too. You're making a mockery of my show, my professional show.
Well, I tried to mute your comments, but it didn't work. But it came out anyway.
I can mute you, too, but that's funny.
But, yeah, he won't be convicted. Ain't no way Senate Republicans gonna convict their own for anything.
I know, because he did nothing wrong.
Well, in your opinion, if he had shot half the people in there, he'd still be. The other half will vote to acquit him.
We all know know that it would have been justified because he only does what's justified.
I mean, for the Senate to rely on Republican senators to convict him is likened to you have your own brothers and sisters and friends on the jury and convicting you. It ain't gonna happen.
Did Trump do anything wrong?
You're not gonna have 17. And of course he did.
What did he do wrong?
Who stood to gain from Stop the Steal and so forth? Who was the only person that it was for?
It was for the country.
Who stoked it?
The good of the country.
No, name somebody else that had to gain something for it.
We the people had a lot to gain had we been successful in stopping the steal.
It was strictly for Donald Trump's benefit.
Nope. False.
All the other Republicans.
Anyway, you named who you think it would have benefited, but you didn't name what he did wrong.
Well, he was the one that promoted it. He's the one that stoked it.
What's wrong with promoting the Stop the Steal rallies? Hold on. What's wrong with promoting Stop the Steal rallies? Up until that point, all of the Stop the Steal rallies were completely peaceful.
Yeah, because in the beginning, it was a big lie to start off with.
Oh, you claiming? Okay, so now we're getting to the point. You're saying that Trump lied.
Exactly.
What's wrong with lying? What's wrong with lying?
He would have lied. He would have lied if he had lost in 2016. He told you that. He said if he loses, it's because they cheated.
Right.
But he won, so that went out the window.
Right. But that wouldn't have been a lie. That would have been the truth.
No. That would have been.
But anyways, you're claiming that he lied and that therefore he should be impeached. But the politicians lie all the time.
I'm just saying that the fact that it started off as a big lie.
But that's not true.
He had to find an excuse for losing.
But that's not true. How do you know it's a lie? Earl, how do you know it's a lie? Have you looked into it yourself?
Yes, it's a lie.
How do you know?
Yes, it's a lie.
How do you know?
Even the Republicans admit it's a lie now.
No, the Republicans are RINOs.
Republicans that came out and said there was no credible evidence.
Those Republicans, hey Earl, those Republicans are liars themselves. How do you trust them?
Of course they are to you. Anybody that disagree with your God.
How do you trust? How do you know that it's a lie? You're just citing other liars.
The facts are the facts.
What does that mean? That means nothing.
The facts are the facts.
That means nothing. You haven't even looked at the facts.
So if I said he lied, he won in 2016 because they cheated, would that be a fact?
You have not proven that he lied.
Have you proven anything that he won?
I don't have to prove it. You're the one who called it a lie.
Nor do I.
No, you called it a lie with no evidence. You
That's
just
what I'm
assumed that
saying.
it's a lie. You assumed that it's a lie, and you don't know that it's a lie. You're just pretending it.
Anybody, where's the evidence?
Never mind the evidence. You claimed it's a lie. You have no proof that it's
That's
a lie.
right. It's a lie.
Nope, it's not a lie. You're claiming that it's a lie without knowing. You're ignorant.
No, you just blindly want to believe.
No, you blindly want to believe that it's a lie.
That he couldn't lose legitimately. Somebody
No.
To be
Hey,
cheated.
Earl. Legitimately is a completely different story. You claimed it's a lie.
Yes, it is.
And you have no evidence. You
'Cause
just
it was-
assumed.
that
You
started off-
ASSUME'd. Shameful.
That lie was planted before even one voter was counted.
Hey, Earl. Hey, Earl.
Yeah.
Has voter fraud ever happened?
Yeah.
Then how do you know that it's a lie? You don't know anything.
Because
You're just assuming.
Because it
Anyway.
didn't happen in any numbers that will change the election.
So thanks
If
for
you got-
proving that this whole impeachment is fake.
If you got about 30 cases of voter fraud and you lose by 200,000, that wouldn't change the outcome of the election.
But you don't know the facts. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. Earl.
Discrepancy.
Earl, it wasn't 30 and it wasn't 200,000. So you're just making up numbers. You're making up numbers.
But I'm saying they found two and recounted 3 times in Alabama.
Recounts don't. Recounts.
Georgia.
Earl. Recounts are not audits.
So no matter what, they found 3.
No.
I mean 2.
Earl, you're being ignorant. You're being a typical black, just blindly believing the
and
haters.
the typical white.
Thank you. That I am.
Brainwashed, that locked on Donald Trump's lies and so forth, that no matter what somebody says, you wouldn't believe it to save your life.
Because you're not supposed to just blindly believe idiots and liars.
You blindly believe Donald Trump.
No, I don't.
Yes,
I
you do.
agree with Donald Trump because I see that he's telling the
You
truth.
agree with
Finally.
everything he's saying.
No, I
and
don't.
Anybody that
False.
said something,
That's not true.
something against them, you downplay them. They're evil. They're this. They're RINOs. They're somebody else.
Because they
can't
are.
stand up for themselves. They got to believe everything Donald Trump says. If he says it, you got to follow him like blind sheep.
No, you're the one following the mainstream media like a blind sheep.
Yeah, that's what you do.
No, that's what you do.
You find him and justify
you.
every word he says.
No, you.
And demonize anybody that disagrees with him.
Oh, give me a break. Like you're pretending to respect Mitch McConnell. Please.
I mean, you're a cult leader. I mean, you're a cult follower to the hilt.
Oh! I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, you haven't done that in a while, James.
Yeah.
So, James, what you want?
What Robert from Kansas is saying, he got you, Hank. You got to be messing with me. Anyway, Earl, thanks for showing that you got nothing. That they got nothing on him.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Listen to it, but the outcome is already set.
Right. Anyway, nice talk.
Our feet is a.
What'd you say? Our feeder say?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's his. I think
Adios,
that's.
amigos.
All right. Goodbye. Very nice. What a mess. Earl sounded like a Nazi from The Sound of Music. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. I hate to go and leave this pretty sight. Dun, 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 dun. Did you ever watch that show? That movie? The Sound of Music? It was so long that it was 2 video cassettes, 2 VHS tapes, and it had a intermission in between it. That's how long that movie was. With Maria Mary Poppins. What a beautiful, whatever. Dude just put a curse on James, Joshua Boykin. Yeah. So, another man has died of COVID-19, allegedly. But it wasn't really that, because he had lung cancer. And he was actually hospitalized in September with lung cancer. Ron Wright, a representative from Texas, died of COVID. But back in 2018, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. It was a kick in the stomach to him, I can imagine, man. So a couple of years later, a little over 2 years later, he died. He caught the COVID, and he was still working with a pretty aggressive schedule. He was mild symptoms, and then later he and his wife were hospitalized with the COVID thing, the Chinese virus, the China virus. And because Trump called it a China virus because it originated in China, the mainstream media is pretending Asian Americans are suffering from xenophobia. Or if you're Joe Biden or British, they call it xenophobia, right? And he won his re-election, I think, in November 2020, even amid his struggle with, or whatever you want to call it, with his lung cancer. And you will remember that a prior newly elected official who had not quite taken office yet, I guess he wasn't an official, he was representative-elect, Luke Letlow. I told you about this guy, a Republican of Louisiana. He died in December 2020 when he was dealing with the CCP virus, the Chinese/communist virus. He was just age 41. Father of like 2 or 3 young children, husband to a young pretty wife. He himself was a bit obese. Not like ridiculously obese, but he was obese. And apparently he had heart disease. He died of a heart attack. I read it on the internet. And I also read on the internet that the flu, yes, the flu, the regular flu, increases your risk of heart attacks. So same thing with this COVID thing, the China virus. Bradley Smith speculates, I think. He says, I don't think the virus is killing people. It's the medically induced coma they put people in for the ventilator that kills people. Yeah, a lot of the times, and he's saying, I think, he doesn't necessarily know for sure, but a lot of times the cure is worse than the disease. Anyway. And it's been said that children are not prone to spread the disease as much as originally feared, right? Pure speculation is a lot of what this stuff is. Parents are struggling. The Biden administration is given mixed messages on reopening schools. Jen Psaki is in the mix. Jen Psaki, the redheaded Russian communist woman. Former Obama administration holdover, right? The Epoch Times reports that Joe Biden, you know, the wannabe president, he promised to reopen schools, and I think he had like 100 days plan, right? And Fauci said, I don't think that's going to work. Maybe, something like that. Teachers' unions, of course, pushing back because they don't want their teachers to work. They want them to stay comfortable. Biden's head of the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, recently appeared to greenlight reopening schools, only for her comments to be discounted by the administration. Jen Psaki, who's just a spokesman, a female spokesman for Biden. Why do they put a female spokesman to deal with the media? Because the media is mostly like female or female-minded and liberals, and they're mostly reporting to females who overly concern themselves with this politics when they shouldn't be worrying their pretty little heads. Meanwhile, hotline calls regarding children and domestic violence went up more than 50% during the lockdown months. Domestic violence is when the parents get crazy. Usually the mother, sometimes the father. Well, the calls are usually against the father or a man in the house who's not the father. I think that there are more problems when you bring in a step parent, right? Or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And reports of predators enticing minors online nearly doubled last year, by the way. You know, predators, people who are evil and perverted, going after the children because the children are very online, very much more today than ever, right? This past year, 2020. Because in March is when the shutdown started, so they said, oh, everybody go online. It's safe there. Not. It's worse online. Homeschooling families, too. As you guys know, well, some of you guys, depend on local cooperatives. They visit each other for shared learning is what they call it. But that's prohibited during this lockdown. So it's not just for the public schools or the liberal private schools. There's an author woman named Ann Bauer. I don't know anything about her, but she put out a series of tweets. She listened in on a conference call between a group of parents and a Minnesota state legislator, right? A phony Minnesota politician, no doubt. I'm assuming, right? I'm assuming it's a phony. But anyways, that's kind of irrelevant, whether the politician is phony or not. They're talking about what the parents were saying and what they did. They described girls who hid in their rooms and cried, and boys falling so far behind they might never catch up. I remember I was homeschooled in 3rd and 6th grade. Pretty quickly, I was like, I miss my friends. Because I wanted to hang out with my friends. Wanted to go to recess outside. She said in a series of emotionally charged February 4th tweets that are no longer available online. And I was only homeschooled 1 year and then another year. I kind of liked the idea, but sometimes it would get old. But it was a mixed bag. Minnesota closed schools in March and later switched to remote or partly remote classes. And I don't know why those tweets are no longer available. Was she censored? Did she delete them? What happened? Minnesota's the one with that skinny, liberal, so-called governor, Tim Walz. I don't think he's a Christian. He's a Democrat, so obviously he's not a Christian, right? Told school districts in December to reopen at least elementary schools. But no, he faced objections from teachers' unions that wanted to wait until teachers or even all students get vaccinated. So they want to vaccinate the kids based on, well, is it right to call it a not very long tested vaccine? This vaccine hasn't been around a long time, or these vaccines have not been around a long time. You really trust that? Ann Bauer said, they said our state is way behind not just the world, but the country. We've denied children a decent education a full year. They said their kids are not at risk for COVID. They pointed out that teachers are less likely to be affected in the classrooms than in the community. Duh. They talked about suicidal kids, their own and others. This is a conference call, right? Parents and a state legislator. Yeah. They talked about promising athletes who couldn't play sports. They could play them, but just had to sneak into it. Some people there have been reports of like professional athletes or stars, like college stars, who go and practice at some field that's closed, and then they get like arrested or kicked out. They're all by themselves. You heard about a kayaker out on the beach over here. Am I pointing in the right direction? Yeah. Who got arrested. He was just kayaking by himself. It's dumb. 2 of the fathers cried. 1 father turned off his video because he couldn't keep it together. Yikes. 2 of the mothers had outbursts. She said 2 of the moms had outbursts, and I couldn't blame them. What a mess. People can't get it together. And it's questionable. There's no real basis for this scare, by the way, except for fear. An analysis of 4 studies concluded the risk of asymptomatic spread, and I don't know if that includes pre-symptomatic spread, is between 0 and 5%. I think that's the asymptomatic, as opposed to pre-symptomatic. That's when pre-symptomatic is when you're not showing any symptoms, but in a few days or a week or whatever, you're going to start showing them, right? Or maybe even tomorrow you start showing them. That's pre-symptomatic. Asymptomatic means you never, throughout your whole time of supposedly having contracted the virus, you never show any symptoms. Between 0 and 5% asymptomatic. I think that's asymptomatic only, as distinguished from pre-symptomatic. Some people are ham-fisted with this asymptomatic versus pre-symptomatic. It's kind of like talking about, and I've made this comparison before, illegal aliens versus legal aliens. Legal aliens supposedly follow the law, right? A little bit more than normal people, because we have a whole lot of native-born POCs, anchor babies, and even some whites committing crimes, right? But if you're here as a guest, a visitor, generally you're supposed to have the mindset of being on your best behavior, right? Well, illegals get lumped in with this. But immigrants, both legal and illegal, are less likely to commit crimes than regular Americans. So illegal aliens, not true. They're more likely to commit crimes. And in fact, by crossing illegally or staying illegally, overstaying, right? In many cases, they are committing a crime, or at least breaking the law. Should be a crime. They say, oh, it's not a felony. Well, if they get deported and then come back, that's a felony. Anyway, that's just a side note. Asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic. It gets lumped together because they don't care about the real truth. They only care about hyping these concerns in order to control you. A recent paper that estimated nearly 60% of cases resulted from asymptomatic spread or non-symptomatic spread, because that's probably asymptomatic plus pre-symptomatic, was based on assumptions regarding symptom onset and infectiousness duration. The research on the whole remains scant, but they're pretending, oh, we need to stay shut down, protect our teachers. And many teachers are younger than me. Blind, brainwashed, liberal, college-educated, or should I say indoctrinated females who push the fake racism thing on kids. They assume 30% of individuals with infection never develop symptoms, and that those asymptomatic people are 75% as infectious, meaning 25% less infectious than those who do develop symptoms. Interesting. How do you assume that? How do you assume that? When it has been shown within a household between 0 and 5% is of asymptomatic people are spreading the disease. I don't know. So the research is scant. And CDC Director Rochelle Walensky, who is like, I almost said Obama's CDC director, a female in charge of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, she admitted that teachers don't necessarily have to be vaccinated in order for schools to reopen safely. Did you know that? She said there is increasing data to suggest that schools can safely reopen, and safe reopening does not suggest teachers need to be vaccinated in order to reopen safely. She said that on February 3rd, just recently, like a week ago, a week and a half maybe. But White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki told reporters Walensky was speaking in her personal capacity. The official CDC guidance on school reopening has yet to come. She doesn't want Biden to lose the teachers union support, or she doesn't want to lose the teachers union support. Walensky said most infections found in school came from outside, not from students spreading it to each other, to teachers. Interesting. The data from schools suggests there's very little transmission that is happening within the schools, especially when there's masking and distancing occurring, she said. And that's a woman for the CDC, February 8th. Daily infection positive test numbers have been dropping for weeks, though the numbers of deaths are only exhibiting a slow downward trend. But it is down. Fauci is a deceiver too, by the way. He is a deceiver. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the guy that many of us wanted President Trump to fire, he was a Hillary Clinton fangirl. He's all, you go, girl. He emailed her. You did such a good job. Pretty much the day that she's all, what difference at this point does it make when the Benghazi terror attack happened under her watch when she was so-called Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, under Obama, and they blamed it on a video. Fake. Just covering for the Muslims. So this Dr. Fauci guy, who's a Hillary Clinton fangirl, and another, he's also a fangirl. I'm calling him a girl, right? He's also a fangirl to that lesbian MSDNC host. I always blank on that woman's name. But Dr. Fauci went on this MSNBC host of this lesbian hosts show. and said, you have the best. Yeah, Maddow, Rachel Maddow. Oh, you're the best. He said something like that. You do great work. I've been wanting to come on, but I was muzzled. I was told, no, I can't go on there. Because she's a liar. She pushed the fake Russia collusion madness. Lesbians. Some are nice, but they're evil. They're liars. And she is no exception. She's probably chief among them. That's why she has a show on MSDNC. Dr. Fauci previously admitted to skewing the facts. Early in the pandemic, he discouraged people from putting on a mask, from buying masks. He said, you don't need to buy masks. He told Congress that he only did so because there was a shortage of masks for healthcare workers that would have been exacerbated if the public was encouraged to wear them. Sleazy person manipulating stuff based on the outside world. Later, he admitted that his early projections for how high a vaccination rate would need to be in order to get herd immunity, he intentionally lowered his estimate for, we don't need, let's say, some people say, we need 90% or 95% vaccination rate, meaning 95% of the country has to be vaccinated in order for us to achieve herd immunity. Or some people say 85% or 70%. I don't know what numbers he was saying. And it depends on the disease, right? And it's questionable whether it's even worth doing for this disease because it's quite mild for many people. For most people, relatively speaking. He said he intentionally lowered his estimate because vaccine acceptance among the public wasn't polling high enough. And I can only assume that he was saying that, he was lowering it so that it seemed like it would be achievable. Only this percentage of people are willing to take the vaccine. So it seems like it's achievable. And since it seems like it's within reach, that encourages more people that, this is a good thing. So he's a deceiver. He's a manipulator. Dr. Fauci. No wonder he was such a Hillary Clinton fan girl and a Rachel Maddow fan girl. But President Trump was too nice to him. Man, there's a young woman who works for the Independent Women's Forum, which is supposed to be conservative. Hadley Heath Manning. And I'm familiar with her because over the years we've used her to give health news, right? On the Jesse Lee Peterson show during news breaks and stuff. Hadley Heath Manning is the policy director of Independent Women's Forums, and she's talking about the serious miscalculation of these school closures because there's more than just this pandemic thing to be concerned about. Focusing so much on the risk of this particular disease, I'm afraid, has taken our eye off of other risks. Social isolation. Children, I've read on the internet that children need more social interaction than the rest of us. Young children, right? They need to get along with friends. One guy on the internet said that parents who homeschool their children are, he said something like derogatory, like psycho or something like psychotic or something like that. And he has an interesting point. I don't know. You do notice that a lot of times children of well-meaning conservatives and homeschoolers, not always, but many times, they end up like there's some awkwardness going on, insecure, nice Christian kids, but something is missing, right? Some confidence or whatever. It's no wonder like and it's more than just the homeschool kids. It's like Christians in general. They're either liberals or they're just weak. They're conservatives and strong in their beliefs, but in practice they're weak. So many of us. What a mess. The rate of infection, according to the CDC, from schools to teachers has been low. School closures may lead to a greater number of deaths than school openings, or than school closures might prevent. There's been studies in other countries, Ireland, Australia, Sweden. Swedish schools, even they opened last spring, 2020. 0 deaths resulted, she said. Hadley Heath Manning. She's knows about health stuff. So right on to Hadley Heath Manning. Predators online, going online. And then the parents, even if you're not a working, I don't know, it's just a mess. I was going to say, even if you're not a working mother, which you generally shouldn't be, right? You have to do so much more. You may as well be homeschooling them in order to make sure that they're staying on the course. It is nice, though, because a lot of people are now aware of the madness that their teachers are pushing. They're pretending that, oh, Trump is a liar. Trump is racist. He is against illegal immigrants are not a problem. This is what teachers are lying to these children. Because the teachers themselves believe liars. They're suckers. Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg is... I saw a video of Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook, and this was on Project Veritas. They put out a video of his... he did this opening to this Zoom meeting. It's about an hour long, and he was meeting... Zoom is what many people are using to have these meetings, since they so-called can't meet in person right now. They're meeting online from the comfort of their homes, right? So you see Mark Zuckerberg talking about, oh, well, I think yesterday was historic. This was the day after the inauguration where Joe Biden became so-called president, right? A wannabe. He's such a poser. Joe Biden is. And so honestly are all these liberals. So Mark Zuckerberg thinks this is such a wonderful thing, and it's great for policies that we want, such as immigration. He's talking about immigration. He's talking politics as a specific interest to his company, outright exposing that he's advocating for Joe Biden to be president and not President Trump. And this is after the fact. But he just exposed himself as a total phony. And I guess we all knew this, right? But he just exposed himself as a dumb liberal person. Maybe not dumb, but evil. Misguided. Not for the best interest of the country. Yeah, I read that about Bruce Springsteen. But for his so-called company. Is Facebook the one that was, or was that Google, working with China to censor? I think they were both. But never mind that, they're enemies of America. They're censoring the best of Americans. Starting long before Trump, starting with the little guys. You. Me, Jesse Lee. To push what they want. What a mess. So he's sick. Really sick. And they're going to censor on behalf of WHO. WHO has been known to be corrupt. They just have. It's so ridiculous. WHO is the World Health Organization under the evil UN, United Nations, which I don't know if we ever should have been a part of them. They don't have the best interests of America at heart. They don't have the best interests of what's right at heart, the United Nations. Is there anybody decent in the UN? I think there might be like a few people who are well-meaning. There was one scientist who blew the whistle at the IPCC, which is an international panel on climate change, something or other. I'm butchering the name, but the IPCC. I read about it in Breitbart News, which is real news. Every bit as real, if not more, than the mainstream media, but they're demeaned as a fake news source. Give me a break. But the International Panel on Climate, whatever, IPCC, was censoring dissent. Scientific dissent. They don't like that. They want, we must be united in our message that climate change is real. It's settled science, says Barack Obama, the liar. Well, the WHO, which is another part of the UN, says it's extremely unlikely that the virus originated in a lab. And what the WHO says, Facebook is going to enforce that you go along with it. And Facebook owns Instagram. I know a lot of you guys, unless you're boomers, you're not on Facebook anymore, right? Many boomers are on Facebook. I love boomers. And it's good to put the truth out on Facebook, but the Facebook is anti-truth. And so is IG, Instagram. And so they're going to censor anything that says, COVID was started by humans. It's man-made. Nope, going to be censoring that. Even though it's not even disproven, it's just said to be extremely unlikely. And the WHO is accused of echoing China's virus comments. The WHO isn't interested in truth. They promote women being in charge of stuff. They really do. The WHO. What does women being in charge have to do with health? Nothing. In fact, they probably promote abortion. Not probably, they definitely do. I don't even have to look into it. They just do. And by the way, there's a WHO scientist who says, don't rely too much on U.S. virus intelligence amid the probe transparency doubts. Interesting. So this so-called scientist says that you can't rely too much on U.S. intelligence. Well, that's true, but you can't rely too much on WHO themselves. The jury is still out, according to the Epoch Times. It's the headline. The jury is still out whether China was transparent in its World Health Organization probe, according to the State Department. Ned Price said on February 9th, those comments, jury's still out, whether the Chinese regime gave full transparency to the World Health Organization. Joe Biden has to look tough on China, said Peter Van Emberich, a Danish scientist who led the World Health Organization of the virus origin in Wuhan. He tweeted that. Please don't rely too much on U.S. intel, increasingly disengaged under Trump and frankly wrong on many aspects. Oh, interesting. So this might be an honest scientist. Not sure. Because the U.S. intel is disengaged under Trump. I mean, oh no, he is. Oh no, this guy's not. What a mess. You never know where these people are coming from. Even within the Biden administration, they can't get their messaging straight. They say, one woman who's in charge of the CDC says, teachers don't have to get vaccinated. And then the Jen Psaki, who's the face of Joe Biden, says, well, you can't rely on her. That's just her personal opinion. We haven't put out official information yet. What a mess. Anyway, that's enough of that. I'm kind of sick of this this COVID mess. I have some good news for you coming up in the second hour. Florida is being called by some a beacon of liberty. Florida has somebody who is in the vein of real Donald Trump. Real, let's not monkey this up, Governor Ron DeSantis. King. They say, this Schachtel says that, this person named Schachtel, says that Ron DeSantis is almost single-handedly ensured that his constituents have been able to live free and prosper. Nice. So we have some good news going on. I'll get to that and more, and your calls in the coming hour. And I will expose those, well, remind you of those 6 GOP senators. I don't think many, if any, of the names will surprise you, who backstabbed President Trump. So typical. Anyway, 888-775-3773. I will be right back in a couple of minutes. Hang tight.
Like a thief in the night, they'll take away what's left of us. Burning landslides lighting up the sky in front of all of us. Summer fire, heavy heart taking over, leading me to my grave. And I don't know what to think of what I told you, but tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is another day. Fall away. Let the ashes of these memories turn to gray. Stall the pain and let go of all your emptiness so love remains. Like a bird flying in the sky, watch the clouds as they pass on by. Soar from the earth with no fear and no need to hold on to you, dear. But I'm afraid that I won't come down, 'cause it feels like having you around, like it was back then, when you and me, we were the best of friends. Summer fire, heavy heart taking over, leading me to my grave. And I don't know what to think of what I told you, but tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is another.
You know how you can figure out who's telling the truth and who's lying? Look at their body language. I look with the sound turned off, and sometimes I look with the sound turned on at these people performing at this second fake impeachment trial. And right now they have this guy, Joaquin Castro, who's a Democrat, pretending, he's pontificating. And yesterday, I remember seeing this young black guy who was a freshman in the year 2018 alongside Dan Crenshaw and Deb Haaland and all these phony politicians, right? And Dan Crenshaw's phony, but still, like, sometimes for stuff that's a little bit less insane. But all of them just perform. This black guy, I'm blanking on his name, but he's young, and he looks like he's just trying to act like an Obama. And Obama himself, total phony. The difference between Trump and the Republican politicians. Trump, a man among boys, a genuine person among a bunch of phony politicians. And it never stops. So these people who claim that Trump is fake and he was lying all along, he never had our best interests at heart, and he never built the wall. He did build the wall. And Mexico will pay for it. Anyway. What was I going to say? Oh, shout out, by the way, to Bright Lights, Summer Fire. Speaking of the immigration situation. Summer Fire is the song by Bright Lights, John Parfit. That song was played at the beginning and during the fallen state, man on the street, interviews at none other than MacArthur Park. I think it's MacArthur Park. MacArthur Park. Right here in Los Angeles. Just right over there. I think I'm pointing in the right direction. Right around there somewhere. J.C. Lee Peterson interviewed a bunch of, for the Fallen State TV. It came out a year or two ago. A bunch of people about Trump and the wall and immigration, and should we send the illegals back? And many of them were maybe illegals. But it was an interesting man on the street. It would be nice to get back to some of those. By the way, make sure you check out Jesse Lee Peterson's Rockfin. Rockfin.com/Jesse Lee Peterson, I believe, is what it is. There's some exclusive content on there. Anyway, Based AF, Based America First, says, appreciate your work. Check your email. Yeah, I got your email, man. That's awesome. I will be getting back to you. I don't know the answer, but I appreciate that. By the way, I mentioned Bruce Springsteen. And I don't really like this type of mess, this gossip news, but Time magazine was reporting that he was arrested back in November. It came out, right? What a mess. It came out that he was arrested for something, right? Driving while under the influence, intoxicated. And that can mean anything. That can mean drinking. That can mean drugs. That can mean prescription. Who knows? That guy is kind of old now. But he was a liberal all throughout his life. Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen. Wasn't he called the boss or something like that? He was the one who said, born in the USA. That song. But that's not a pro-USA song. He's talking about, send me off to kill the yellow man. But he was not pro-America. He was pro-Obama, I remember. A dumb liberal. Basically, if you know a musician, don't listen to their politics. They're mostly misguided people. Hot Computer Smell gave another super chat. And these super chats are primarily on Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/The Hake Report. Hot Computer Smell says, I'm not sure if Hake News covered already, but Twitter suffered so much from banning Trump. Jack is thinking of starting a subscription service for Twitter to make up for lost revenue. Interesting. Yeah, a lot of people left Twitter. Twitter is a lot less fun now that Trump is gone. And Twitter is anti-America. And people, more than ever, realize it. Yeah, there are some conservative events coming up. So keep your ears peeled, your eyes peeled. Let me talk with Samuel in Sweden. He wants to comment on Trump and Gab, the Trump Gab account, which is not run by President Trump or anybody necessarily associated with him. It's supposed to be a mirror of Trump's belated Twitter account. Samuel in Sweden, how are you?
Hi.
Hey.
Yes, I asked the chat if they thought I should call in, and they voted yes, so I called in.
Nice.
And instead of talking about all the pressing things, vaccine or whatever,
right.
I want to talk about something not a lot of people talk about, which is that for Gabs, since they started, they apparently had a Trump mirror account.
Right.
It had all the tweets from Twitter. But what I was surprised when I joined Gab was that they had that blue check mark. I think it's a blue check mark, but anyway, like it was the real person. And I found out pretty soon it's not the real person. But now things have gone more interesting because there is no more Twitter Trump account.
Right.
But suddenly last week, there came out new posts on the Trump Gab account.
Yes.
And a lot of news outlets reported that perhaps Trump has joined Gab.
Right.
But what happened is that the creator of Gab, the CEO, Andrew Torba, is posting letters that Trump has given out.
Yes.
He's posting them on the Gab account, and because he said that they don't, the mainstream media doesn't share those messages.
Right.
He thought he used that. But it's pretty interesting, because they all say battle around Trump joining, because they claim one of Trump's relatives. But I don't, I feel like I don't want to go with gossip, but they claim one in the Trump family is trying to stop Trump from joining Gab and whatever.
Yeah.
And I
heard that it was. I heard that it was Kushner, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, the liberal, the one who married Ivanka.
Okay, so now CEO Andrew Torba of Gab is kind of talking, saying that Andrew Kushner is the one stopping Trump, and he doesn't say directly that he's evil, but that's. What I think is that I know that Trump makes his own decision. I honestly don't think he can be manipulated that way. I think he listens to different sides and that he makes the decision he thinks is best.
Yeah.
But I also, it's quite interesting that to run a account of a person, calling it, being a real, belonging to the person, they are fantasized, and it's not. So I can understand Trump for being like, what the,
Yeah. But when I look at it, I know, if you look at the account, the Gab account, let me screenshot it and show the people, anybody who may be watching the video, that it does have the blue check mark, which indicates that it's an official account for real Donald Trump. But the About section says, reserved for the 45th President of the United States of America. This account is an uncensored Twitter archive and shares email statements sent by the office of Donald J. Trump. In other words, it says reserved for him. And it shares the Twitter and email statements. So it's clear to me that it's not pretending to be Donald Trump, but it's the account for Trump that's reserved for him. And I respect it. It was called a fake account. Somebody named Jason Miller, who's like a fat guy who works for Trump, and he's worked for him for a while. Been pretty faithful as a supporter, I guess. Has his own personal issues, but that's separate. And he's, like yesterday, they put out a statement on the next phase of the unconstitutional impeachment trial. And it's basically his email statement. And he did the trial memo. And they shared the response to Jamie Raskin, the Democrat congressman, back in 5 days ago. They shared this one. And so I think that it's, I don't see anything necessarily wrong with it. Maybe it should say, it's real Donald Trump because that's what he called himself on his Twitter account. So I don't know. I don't see anything necessarily wrong with it. It's pretty clear in the About section. Maybe it should say reserved for Donald Trump. But to me, it's like I don't feel that it's deceptive, not purposely so.
No, that's not deceptive. But I just think, if I was a person, Trump, I would be
taken aback for sure.
And now, I know that Trump likes his family, so I don't know about Jared Kushner, but I just know that I don't think Trump would like it if someone, badmouth if he likes his family. I don't know if Trump likes Jared. I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's a good question.
So I'm honestly starting to question if Trump ever going to get on Gab now.
I would be surprised, honestly. Gab would have to grow quite a bit. It would have to grow pretty mainstream because he's a mainstream friendly guy. He likes to talk with the regular people. And Gab isn't really representative of the regular people. I just put the screenshot in the folder it just says screenshot inside there.
Yeah, I'm not a regular.
We are, you and I are, but we're not representative of the masses. He likes to talk to everybody. So I understand. And you make a good point. You, like me, myself, if somebody made an account under me and just shared everything that I was saying on a social media account that I'm not familiar with, I would be a little taken aback. Even though it says reserved for me. You know, whatever. Yeah, so. Anyway, but you're on Gab at the cross stream, right, Samuel?
Yeah, I'm on Gab, and I'm staying here.
So is Jesse Lee Peterson. At Jesse Lee Peterson, if you want to follow him, guys, listeners.
Jesse Lee Peterson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mine is at the Hake Report, I believe. I think. Gab.com/the Hake. Let me just make sure. Got to make sure. Because I had one that was James Anton Hake, and then I had another one that was the Hake Report. And one of them might have gotten deleted. Anyway, Samuel, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's no problem. Have a nice day.
All right. You as well. Take care. Let me talk with Jesse in California. He wants to comment on this immigration situation. Jesse, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Hake?
Not much.
Yeah, no, it's just I just wanted to kind of talk about the immigration, how kind of crazy because my dad, right, is from Mexico or whatever, but he's a citizen now. But pretty much, I'm a contractor, and I can see how the whole in California, the whole construction industry's been wrecked, right, by immigrants.
Yeah, I've noticed.
And there's no young white or black kids at all. There is kind of white kids, but
right.
It depends if their father owns the company, right? So there's not every other company is just all immigrants.
Yep.
Keeping in the trade.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people on the streets, those are all Americans. They're not immigrants. The homeless people. So
right.
It's all the resources are going to pretty much immigrants. There's no psych wards. There's no places to kind of trade schools anymore. Nothing like that. So I don't see how any Black American or white American can support immigration. Pretty much destroying the country.
I was thinking about this. These phony politicians, Joe Biden, all the other phony liberals, and the RINOs, which are liberals as well, they don't care who gets hurt. As long as we the people don't really hear that much about it, they don't care.
Yeah.
They do not care, and neither does the mainstream media. They don't care who gets hurt. As long as it's something happening that they want happening, such as the immigrants flooding in, they do not care who it hurts.
They could build their housing developments and all that crap for them and this and that.
They're very selfish. They want Democrat voters flooding in, and these people do become Democrat voters. They get driver licenses even though they're illegals, and when you get a driver license, in many cases, you get to register to vote. It's shameful. And then their children become anchor babies and so-called Americans.
Yeah, no, my cousin, he's a little socialist. He tried to vote for Bernie, right? And he's all obsessed with going to school, getting a degree, and I was raised totally different than working since I was a kid. So
good. Yeah.
I just see the difference, but it's
what a setup.
Yeah. In my city is pretty much it got destroyed by immigrants now. They bought up all the housing when the market crashed. That was in Stockton, right? So they.
Oh yeah.
When the housing crashed, a bunch of them came together and they bought up all the houses and pretty much. Yeah. So
are these Asians or Hispanics or what?
Hispanic, Mexicans from Mexico and stuff like that, South America, wherever. But yeah, they go over here and it's they're sending the money back to Mexico. I know the whole inside scoop back to my family.
Yeah,
so, they send the money back home and build homes and all this.
Yeah, one of my best co-workers was sending half his paycheck home to
mama,
to his mother, his children who he wasn't raising, and his so-called wife. He wasn't married to her, baby mother, and he was only supposed to be here 3 years. He was here 15 years before ever going back. And they come here, they make money.
Back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the 80s, from what I hear, is they came here seasonally, right, just for the field work, and they went back home. It wasn't staying here and raping the system and taking everything they could. And
yep.
As an example, I was working on this track. It was a prevailing wage track for low income or whatever. They're
That AC
and
feels good.
it was $66 an hour, and there's immigrants that working. They had no papers. They were pulling a workman's comp or unemployment from another job while they were working there.
Yeah. No, yeah. When I was working at the other place, we would sometimes have to fire somebody who stole, or they would quit, they wouldn't show up or whatever. And not me, but the boss had to like fight with workman's comp over them because they dock us for workman's comp. It's not just the so-called free government money. It's us directly.
Yeah.
It's the company directly that got backstabbed by the bad employee, and that bad employee bleeds more money out of you after leaving, and it's their own fault, and it's a corrupt system.
Yeah, even more so now with COVID, it's like pretty much, you know.
Yeah, they're
breathe.
I heard that Biden, and I don't know if this is true, it's kind of irrelevant, but it adds to the issue. Biden was letting in illegals without testing, but meanwhile, if you fly in, you're an upstanding non-citizen, right? And you fly in, you have to be screened, you have to pay for your own lodging, you have to quarantine and all kinds of stuff, but the illegals walk right in untested.
Yeah.
Even if they tested them, I don't want them here, but they get special treatment. There was a caller who complained that his grandchild did not get work. What is that thing that they charge men when they make a baby, even though they don't let the man raise the baby? Child support. The illegal didn't have to pay child support.
Yeah, they don't. Or if they come hit you in a car with no car insurance and take off, they don't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
That's
all
why
kinds of
California's,
corruption.
Insurance is so high.
Right. Yeah, that's true. What a scam.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. But yeah, I pretty much kind of see, you know, how the city's been like destroyed like that. How they just bring them in and like use them for the social programs and pretty much, the city, whoever puts the program in, they get you know, a little cut off of that, and that's pretty much how government works.
Special treatment for the victim perpetrator group. And you know, Obama lied and said illegals won't get Obamacare. And Joe Wilson said, "You lie," a Republican guy. He shouted, "You lie." It was a State of the Union address, I think. And there was murmuring, "Ooh, you can't say you lie." And it was true. But it was called racist by people like Oprah. Oprah Winfrey used Joe Wilson, who was a congressman at the time, calling Obama a liar, saying, "You lie." The disrespect to a black man.
Yeah, I know.
Calling it racist. And it was true. It turned out to be true. What a mess.
I don't know. I look at it this way. It's like, why would you want people who aren't willing to stand and fight for their own country to come into your country and destroy it?
Yes.
They're weak. You know, they're weak. Like,
and most of these people are men. Fighting age men or working age men. Take your pick. Job stealing age men. Yeah, it's not like it's women. They pretend, it's women and children. Yeah, I wouldn't want women and children in either because I don't fall for that stupid emotional manipulation. They're just fleeing.
I mean, they need to be in their country, making their country better. You know, they need to stand up and use our principles and characters and go from there. Right.
We were fleeing domestic violence. And then he gives special treatment, this Joe Biden guy, he gives special treatment to the LGBTQIA because those countries that they're fleeing are less welcoming to them. So we have to welcome the most degenerate, the most disease-ridden people.
In there.
Yeah. Wow. What a mess. Well, I wish you well in your contracting work, Jesse. I respect that work. That's cool.
Yeah, now my trade's pretty protected, so it's not like the concrete or whatever landscaping. So
yeah, always needed, huh? You make yourself useful. You will you'll never be out of work. That's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jesse, it's good to hear from you. All right, take care. Man. Rick in Hampton, Virginia. Let me talk with Rick. What's up? How are you doing, Rick?
My brother James, the Hake report. La la la. What's going on, brother James?
Not much. How about you, Rick?
Man, things are going pretty good here on the East Coast in Hampton, VA. Cloudy, about 43 degrees.
Nice. Yeah, the AC's on in here, and it feels like it's kind of cool in here.
Man, I'm jealous,
Which is unusual.
man. Y'all got the AC on, and we got to have the heat on this side.
Well, in this padded room that we have, not for us being crazy, just for us being loud, right? And avoiding sound bleeding in. It gets pretty warm. We got 1, 2, 3. We got lots of heat-making stuff. Primarily the hot air coming out of my mouth. It gets hot in here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting, man. That's cool. I was thinking y'all be usually around this time. California is cool, but not real cool like it is here.
Well,
but I thought y'all be probably hugging the 60s or 70s.
Outdoors, it is freezing. It's 59 degrees.
Outside?
Yeah, outdoors.
And y'all still got the AC on with 59 degrees outside?
Well, the people outside of the studio are in misery because they do not need the AC on out there. But inside here, it's miserable. And so they are compassionate towards Joel and me. It gets so hot in here that sometimes Joel has fallen asleep. Because when it's hot, you fall asleep.
Wow, so it's that hot in there?
Thanks for reminding the people.
Hey, Joel, how you doing, brother?
Doing well, Rick.
Man, I'm telling you, man, I'm a tropical person. Usually, as long as when it's cold outside, if it's 72 to 75, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, Nick thinks that it's hot at 59 degrees. I think it's freezing.
Absolutely. I would think the same thing. 59 degrees. It's cool up here, 59 degrees.
Yep.
I mean, you wouldn't even need to turn your AC on.
That's a fresh spring day, says Nick. Yeah, a freezing fresh spring day.
Now, hey, I would take 69 over minus 10 degrees in Chicago any day.
Fair point. That's one other reason I don't live in Chicago. Chi-town.
Man, the Midwest, you can have Michigan, Minnesota, all them cold states, brother.
Yeah, miserable.
Yes,
but
sir,
I hear that it's good for COVID, right? Cold is good for COVID? To kill it? I don't know.
I've been hearing that, too.
I think outdoors in general is good for them.
You know what? What they say, cold air kills germs. So
right.
Could possibly be true.
Yeah.
But you know how that leprechaun Fauci is? He'll come up with something new. When you see that people start to feel confident, he'll come up with a new dilemma. Now you have another phase times 3 times as worse was the last one.
That's a good point. I bet you that guy is he seems, he's 80 years old, right? And and physically, I respect the guy. He's fairly fit. He's a young 80. Well, he's also immature. He seems like he's on an ego trip. He kisses up grossly to women, the worst women that you can think of. And he's like loving all of this. He's like the highest paid government employee, is he? Is that the truth? And he is
that's what I hear too.
After 30 or 40 years leeching off the government, he's now the chief leech. He's like getting all this attention and getting all this media, feeding his ego and kissing up to him, especially under Trump, because he did not like Trump, and that was kind of apparent. Or he was kind of, oh no. They like to kiss up to the intellectual, right? The phony guy.
Yeah.
So I think that his ego is wanting to milk this thing. I'm just speculating. He may be wanting to milk this thing for all it's worth.
I tell people, look, take your precautions, but that's the same thing President Trump was saying. He wasn't telling people to take a life. He was just telling people, look, take your precautions, but still enjoy your life.
Right.
That's all he was saying.
Yeah, and there's people who, there's this liberal woman who was a Hispanic lady. Her father was a Trump supporter, and her father went to some like karaoke bar. He was like in his 50s or 60s, not exactly a healthy man. And he somehow or another, he contracted COVID allegedly and got sick and died. And we don't know if he got it at the karaoke bar. But the daughter, went over and she spoke at the Democrat National Convention, pretending that she loved her father and saying, "Oh, Trump killed my father. He told him don't worry, so my father didn't worry." But that's not. Trump is a germaphobe. Like, he doesn't even like a person sneezing inside the same room or coughing inside the same room as him. He's always been that way.
Hey, you should cover your darn mouth sneezing to see that aerosol come out your nose, man.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't blame President Trump. Be the same way.
So
if you sneeze, cover your mouth.
So it's not his fault if somebody gets reckless who happens to be a fan of his. And by the way, that woman disgraced her late father. He'd probably be rolling over in his grave if he could, if he knew that his daughter backstabbed him and Trump by pretending that she loves him in order to get back at Trump. She's an evil person. And so are the Democrats for using that. Standing on the graves, as Ben Shapiro said, standing on the graves of the dead children. Yeah, people are evil.
I like Ben Shapiro.
Me too.
Hey, if I ever need a little lawyer, he'd be one of the guys I'll come get.
Interesting.
That brother's sharp. And it's so sad, man. That Eric, you know, like, did you hear that in CNN, a CNN reporter reported the people that was at the Super Bowl party in Tampa to the police?
Oh, it was CNN who were the tattletales? Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they the one that called the 12 on the people. The 12 means the police.
Okay. That's why they say F12. Wow.
Yeah. They called the police. I said, what are you see people that ain't got no mask on. If it's bothering you that much, you just maintain your distance.
Exactly.
You call the police on the people.
Right. There's no proof. There's no proof that these events, these public events, anybody contracted COVID from them. But sleazy outlets like TMZ calls them super spreader events. It's a super spreader event, and it's and basically like you call anything that's a gathering a super spreader event, no matter if you're conservative or liberal. You're like, oh, look at that super spreader Black Lives Matter protest out over there. It's just a big joke.
Yeah,
it's a joke. Nobody really knows where this thing is coming from. They do what they call contact tracing, but they don't know. They're just speculating.
It's crazy. And like I said, Dr. Fauci, the leprechaun that he is, he's making millions, man. I mean, keeping people scared. When you see that people trying to build some confidence, like, I can do this. I can enjoy my life. He come back with a worse report, and people get right back scared.
Yes. Yep.
You know, it is crazy, man.
And the female mayor of Tampa, by the way, you mentioned the Tampa. She's what's her name? Jane Castor. Said those few bad actors will be identified and the Tampa Police Department will handle it. Excuse me, it's not the law. It's not a law to wear a mask. That's communism.
The police, I bet the police don't even want to have nothing to do with that, man. They're going around arresting because they don't want to wear a mask.
I hope not.
Oh, God, man. It's like, man, it's just the same thing with this trial, man. They know they don't have the votes, at least right now.
Oh, that's her.
They need 66 votes.
What
All
a
they got
joke.
for the last count I got is 55. And we had one Republican to cross over yesterday talking about, well, Trump's team didn't seem they knew what was going on. What was his name from Louisiana? Well, anyway, I'm like, so you know what's going on. You ain't even got a chief justice that's residing over the impeachment. You got a senator that ain't got no legal experience or no judge experience ever sitting as a judge. And it's all shotgun rigged, man.
Yeah.
And he's going to be. They don't even have the votes, Gabe. They don't even have the votes.
What is that? What are you showing us, Joel? This is the female mayor of Tampa, Florida, the taller woman, I think.
She's lesbian.
Are you serious? You promise? Because I don't want to falsely call her the L word. Jane Castor. I'm going to type in this L word. Oh, my gosh. NBC News, April 23rd, 2019. Tampa elects the first out lesbian mayor, ex-police chief Jane Castor.
Man,
4 years.
you, man.
CNN celebrates 4 years ago, same-sex couples couldn't get married in Tampa. Now they have a lesbian mayor, the first openly lesbian mayor. What, I want to... Who's the behind? Oh, gosh. Oh, man. That's a traumatic picture. No. Joel is showing, for those of you who are listening to the audio podcast, a woman who's blonde-haired, pretty short blonde hair, kind of, middle-aged, roughly middle-aged, and veins in her arms, and wearing a short-sleeve black, what is that, police officer's outfit, and behind her, like, she's towering in the foreground, and because the camera's low, it's like at her waist level almost, and the behind her are these men who are wearing tan, and there's, oh my gosh, and some of these men are in bicycle cops. How embarrassing. No offense to bicycle cops, but you just look silly. I'm sorry. What a shame. And they're like pot-bellied males looking silly under her, and she's the police chief with her veins in her arms.
Oh, God, man. It's just amazing how weak men have come, man. I mean,
No! Is that her mom? That's her mom. Or some other lady. Man, she's like mannish with her arms.
Man, maybe I hate for her to put me to school.
Yeah, no wonder they banned chokeholds. Anyway.
Man,
that's terrible.
I thank God for you guys. Y'all guys really put the truth out, man, and that way people can research. And the reason why
Come close to the phone, Rick. You're coming in and out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now, James?
No. It's muffled.
What about now?
Much better.
Well, yeah. Don't you know earlier, a lot of times, most blacks get their news from CNN. They put that over the Bible. And whatever CNN says, it's gospel when it comes to the black community. When it comes to CNN. They just listen. They get their news from Roland Martin, the butter biscuit eating no nigger Roland Martin. And whatever he says, it's just, how you like Roland Martin? He calls himself a spiritual, he wrote some spiritual books.
I've argued with Roland Martin on Twitter before because he's not above, or at least in years past, he was not above getting sucked into petty arguments with people online. And so I would argue with that guy on Twitter. And I remember at one point, Dr. Michael Brown, that guy who's pro-life, he's not for same-sex marriage. I think he's Jewish, but he might be Christian too. A writer for WorldNet Daily, fellow writer. And he invited a debate, to host a debate between Jesse Lee Peterson and Roland Martin. Well, Jesse and Roland,
that'd be a good one.
They've debated in the past, and it was so bad one time, Roland Martin wanted to get into a fight with JLP. And Roland, of course, would have been rolling down the hill. But it was...
I just see it.
But it was... he was like, I destroyed Jesse. He's beneath me. He can't debate me. So this guy's he's full of himself. What a mess.
You know what? He get to yell and scream if you disagree with him.
Yeah.
And just be just as I seen that debate. Him and it was Jesse and another reporter from Fox, and it was Roland Martin and some female from Cable Nonsense.
Are they standing around a table?
I forget what it was.
Okay, because I feel like I've seen photographs of some stuff from decades past, from years past. Interesting.
Yeah, it was somebody from Fox that Jesse had on his team.
Okay.
And it was Roland Martin and some female from Cable News, and they had a debate.
Interesting.
And Jesse, he just is calm, and you can see Roland Martin. He's rolling over this.
Right.
I mean, he just getting upset because like I said, you disagree with him, man. He gets to screaming and shouting.
Yeah, stay close to your phone, Rick.
Oh, okay. He gets to shout and he gets to,
yeah, of course.
Sitting all over the place, man. I mean, I always fussing that there ain't enough black journalists.
Yeah.
I said, if it's so racist, why don't the black journalists get their own network?
I know. It's terrible.
NFL, same with the NFL. They always complain and talk about, they on a plantation. Then why don't y'all get your own league? Somebody got to be on the plantation. If y'all get your own league, y'all still going to need players to play for y'all.
Yeah. What a mess.
It
Rick,
kills me, man.
I appreciate you, man. We'll talk again.
No problem. Hey, you know one thing I like to talk to on your show, James. You know that guy, that congressman? I don't know if he's a congressman, Joe. Do y'all? Yeah, he was on here yesterday.
Congressman who?
What's his? I think his name is Joe.
Joe?
When I was on your show yesterday, I was talking, and he came like right behind me. I forget his name.
Okay.
Dang, what was his name?
Maybe it was Joe Kenyon? No, you must be talking about somebody in a clip. We might have played a clip.
I want to say he was from Arizona.
Okay.
And he talks on your show too. And we was talking about, he was saying the black issues is not what they look like and stuff. And I would like to just have a discussion with him on your show, man.
But Joe is not a congressman?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
You talking about Joe from Phoenix, Arizona?
Yeah, him.
Oh, he's no congressman. He wishes.
Oh, I thought he was okay.
No, that guy.
Or either me.
He's a RINO.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
He's nice. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, seems like he's a nice guy. And when I'm this base, I'm not trying to make nobody belittle somebody, but I want to put the facts out there, man. I mean,
right.
These kids don't have no fathers in the black community. The fathers are not there. You see
right.
The family, the dysfunctional family, you can almost turn the black community around overnight.
Yeah.
Almost overnight. But if you don't fix that, you keep putting all these chasing racism like chasing an invisible man.
Yep. Anyway, thank you, Rick.
Anyway,
appreciate you.
But thank y'all. Love y'all. God bless y'all, man.
All right. You as well. Take care. The Republicans who voted for the trial's constitutionality, who were pretending that this trial was constitutional, right? This fake Senate impeachment trial of the second fake impeachment of Donald Trump. The Senate voted Tuesday 56-44. 6 Republicans, RINOs, joining all 50 members of the Democrat so-called caucus. The Republicans who voted for the trial's constitutionality, according to NPR News, which I got from Revolver News. NPR is the far-left enemies of America national public radio. Susan Collins of Maine, typical RINO female. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, RINO. He's not as prominent a RINO. I barely even remember him. Lisa Murkowski, a very prominent RINO Republican female of Alaska. I've known of her and Susan Collins ever since the sleazy outlet Huffington Compost pretended that, Republican women are the voice of reason in the party, just because they cater to the Democrats. Stupid. Mitt Romney of Utah, formerly of Massachusetts, but he moved to Utah to get elected by the RINOs in the Mormon church and the RINO Utah people. And Ben Sasse of Nebraska, a silly, never-Trumper person, young guy. And Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. I had not associated that name with being a RINO, but I think that is a fact, and I think that may have been known for a long time. Pat Toomey, another RINO. Bill Cassidy's vote is notable because he was the only senator to switch sides from an early procedural vote on the trial's constitutionality. Coward. Flip-flopper. Louisiana Republican told Capitol Hill reporters that he thought Trump's legal team did a terrible job on Tuesday. So what? Doesn't mean that it's valid. There they are. Joel Friday here is showing the pictures of these sleazy people. The first one on the left, is Ben Sasse, a ridiculous person. The second one is Mitt Romney, the RINO Romney, coward kiss-up. The third one is Susan Collins of Maine, well-known RINO. The other one is, I think that might be Bill Cassidy in the third from the right. The second from right is the Lisa Murkowski nutcase. Shame on the voters who elected these people, honestly. And Pat Toomey is the last guy, I believe, of PA, Pennsylvania. Sleazy RINOs. And they're not the only ones. Most of the Republican Party, most of those Republicans are RINOs. Romney looks more orange than Trump. Ha! Yeah. I was chuckling because Mr. Armandhammer was making fun of that lesbian mayor of Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, right? Is that the name of the city? Or just Tampa, Florida? He called her, is it bad to say this word? He called her Robo Dyke. Sorry, kids. Bad example. Maybe? Anyway. Whatever. Let me just make sure. So, by the way, people are accusing Trump, before I get back to calls, people are accusing President Trump of hiring the worst people. And, well, I cut him a bit of slack because, look, the pickings are slim. And they're claiming, this big talker on Twitter. I don't want to be too mean to him, but he is a big talker, right? This guy, Matt Walsh, formerly of The Blaze, a RINO outlet, now of the Daily Wire, also sometimes a RINO outlet, let's be honest. He's a Trump hater, longtime Trump hater. He was an independent blogger before all this. Matt Walsh, pro-life guy, good on that stuff, good on some of the moral things, but kind of dense, like many Christians, honestly, when it comes to the brilliance of our real President Trump. He claimed that Trump lied when he said he hires the best people. Well, if you think about it, I remember hearing the news leading up to this, a week before the impeachment, this fake impeachment hearing, his legal team quit. Trump's legal team quit. When you're standing alone and the masses betray you as they betrayed Jesus, they're betraying Trump now. How are you supposed to find the best people when many of the so-called best people and talented people, they may be talented, but they're cowards? Many of his legal team quit. And so he had to find people. And so he supposedly thought that his legal team was dry and mechanical and meandering. But others say that that's fake news, that he wasn't actually disappointed in them. So who really knows? Trump's lawyer says the legal team will be well prepared for the rest of the impeachment trial. Who knows? And one of the Trump lawyers' opening argument was that the majority in the House are afraid of facing Trump in the future. Yeah, because Trump is a man of power. Nice. So I like that. Steve Bannon, says the strategy is not working and it needs change. Changes are needed and they're needed now. I don't really see that I care what happens, because this whole thing is only invalidating the people who are conducting this fake impeachment, the Republicans who are going along with it, and the Democrats, of course. They're exposing themselves as evil and malicious and deceptive and total hypocrites. I like Michael Knowles over there at the Daily Wire as well. He spoke at one of our men's conferences or two. Nice guy. Let me talk with Skip in Augusta, Georgia. He wants to comment on Hollywood's influence on us. And it might be more influential than even you realize, even though you are an independent thinker, many of us, right? Skip, how are you doing?
Hey, Hake, I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing fine as well. Thank you.
You don't want to say you're doing good, do you?
Doing good means I'm doing moral good, and, well...
Well, we no man is good. No man is good, but we can be doing good. I'm
true.
Doing good. I'm
that
doing
is
well.
true. We can, but
yeah,
I don't want to say that I'm doing good even.
Yeah,
but that's cool. If you are, that's nice. Right on.
Yeah. Well, look here. I've been watching TV a lot at night, and I don't get but like 4 or 5 channels. I refuse to pay for cable. Hell, I can't afford it no how.
Right on.
But
I respect that.
I was watching a show called 911. You know, when you call 911 when there's an emergency or whatever.
Yep.
And
Skip, you're all garbled. Are you talking to me?
yeah, can you hear me now?
Much better. You were completely garbled.
Okay.
I could not understand It didn't even. It seemed like somebody else was talking in the background, and you had gone quiet. Anyway.
Like an alien or something, huh?
Yeah. Are you an alien? Did you get abducted?
No, I'm sitting
Good.
outside my truck. It's such a pretty day today. I just come outside and sit. And,
Nice.
Man, it's in the upper 60s here. The sun's shining,
Wow.
birds are chirping. Man, it couldn't get no prettier than this. You couldn't ask for no better weather.
That's cool.
But anyhow, this thing got to the point now where there might be 2 911 calls, or 3 at the most, to show any action. It's supposed to be an action show, but it is all drama. They got 2 or 3 911s, and one of them's in Austin, Texas, and that's where Rob Lowe, you know, the actor Rob Lowe. You familiar with him?
Yeah, vaguely familiar with him.
He was real popular at the time that Tom Cruise, all of them came out together.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze and all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyhow, he's got a queer son on the show.
Oh,
and,
man. That's terrible.
And his yeah, I know it. And his
Is he a cop?
son. No, they paramedics, firemen.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And all right, well, his son's done met him and another faggot that works there at the fire station with him.
Skip, you can't say that. What the heck?
Okay, homosexual.
How?
He met him a homosexual.
This guy, he rolled right off his tongue. You know you're on YouTube, D Live, Trovo. You know that doesn't fly. What the heck? Don't repeat it.
That's a cigarette. Do you know that? That's the definition of a cigarette.
But you weren't talking about cigarettes, were you?
I could have been.
I'm only yelling at you because you said it on stream. If it was just you and me talking.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. But anyhow, he was with his homosexual lover that works at the station with him, and they was at this not yard sale, but kind of outside marketplace, and they were walking together, and his boyfriend.
Are you a Fed?
Huh?
Are you a Fed?
Do I work for the Fed?
I don't say it off air, Shaggy Boy. At least not that much. No. Are you a Fed? I didn't say do you work for Feds.
That's the only Fed. That's the only Fed I know. Except when I get fed at night.
This guy, now he's playing dumb.
No, what is a Fed? A Fed is a federal officer, right?
Let me explain. Since I've interrupted you, let me take this off course even further. Remember where you were in this story, okay? But keep it clean. So I
will.
Let me. That's not true. Somebody's saying Hake defends the LGBT with pride. That's not true, man. A Fed is somebody who, oftentimes what Feds do, people who are either informants, they're cooperating with the Feds. The Feds are like the liberals in the FBI who hate white people, and they're trying to undermine Christian and white and nationalist and independent thinking and organizations.
We call them snitches down here. We call them snitches.
But not all.
You heard?
But snitches is not the only. Snitches is not the only way to subvert a movement, a pro-America movement. There are other ways to subvert. In some cases, you can go in and start saying all these crazy words like the F word for homosexual, or you start saying, "Oh, we need violence. We need to." Blah blah blah.
I just grew up with them words. That's what we called them when I was growing up. Hey, and we still call them that.
Right,
I know. We're not politically correct. We're not no Feds or nothing. We just don't know no better. That's what we've always called them.
I think you know better by now, though. You've been paying attention to the. Anyway, have you been drinking?
No,
Because
no,
you're
I'm
awfully loose with the tongue.
I know. I'm sitting out here waiting for my physical therapist to get here. I'll drink something if she leaves. But I'm all right right now. But anyhow,
you're sounding awful, Skip. You're
awful, Skip.
I got to put him on hold. This is terrible. Now his audio is... It's because his phone is tapped. His audio... As if they have to tap the phones to listen in. We're fixing his audio feed. What a mess. And Robert is saying, skip a Fed? Oh, great. Now I love the government. What a mess. Biden is purging U.S. prosecutors who were appointed by Trump. And he asked 56 DOJ attorneys to step down, including John Durham, who was going to tick-tock. Oh, you moved him out of his truck. Okay. Skip, are you back?
Hey, is this better?
Yeah, at least for now.
Okay. Well, I try not to move my head around too much. I got plates in my head, and that might have something to do with it. I had a bad wreck in '87, broke every bone in my face, and they all plates.
Wow.
So that could have something to do. That could have something to do with the reception. I don't know.
Metal
But anyhow,
face. Okay.
Yeah, they were at this market, and the one homosexual didn't introduce his homosexual lover as his lover. He said, "Yeah, this is AJ or something. We work together at the station." And they said, "Oh," his mom said, "Oh, I've heard him. You've mentioned him." And Tom, what's his name? What's his name's son got mad.
Rob Lowe's son?
Rob Lowe's son got mad because he just made it sound like they were friends when they were real deep lovers and all that crap.
Terrible.
It hurt his feelings.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, about 30 minutes of the show was about the social issues of the homosexuals and that he did wrong because he wasn't proud of his lover and all. I mean, a good action-packed show was mainly filled with homosexual drama and making the people watching more acceptable and understandable to the homosexuals.
Yeah.
And how they feel.
It's a lot of propaganda. That's how they do that's how they do in their personal lives too. There's illegals and there's homosexuals who act all nice in person, and then they act like, "Oh, we're victims. You have to feel sorry for us." And then parents and friends and relatives will feel sorry, knowing that it's wrong, and accept it and say, "We need to change the government policy to accept you people." What a shame.
And then I watched the next show that was called FBI, I think Most Wanted, and of course, you know what the episode was about? White supremacists.
Of course.
It was all about the bad white man. I have yet to see an episode that I can think of where there was a black criminal that they was chasing after.
Yeah.
Or a group of black thugs. They were all white supremacists and against America. They were against America. They were going to blow up something important, and we're just awful. Us white folks are just awful.
Yeah.
And you know what they said about Tom Brady on Twitter, don't you? How dare him win the Super Bowl during Black History Month?
Black History Month, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, that was wrong. That was wrong with him. And
was he up against a black guy? Was it a black?
I don't.
It was a half black opponent who was the opposing team's whatever these called.
The other
guy who throws the ball.
Mahomes,
quarterback.
Mahomes. He's half breed, but they made it sound more like Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady alone that beat that team.
Right.
And how dare him being a white man doing Black History Month do something like that? That's just so taking advantage of his white privilege.
That's ridiculous.
Everything is stacked up.
It's wild how Tom Brady, he won and won and won. And how many Super Bowls has he won?
Seven, I think.
Seven Super Bowls.
Yeah.
I remember when we would win a football game at lunch recess or at PE in grade school, we would be like, "We won the Super Bowl!" Wow.
Well, he's still doing a good job. 43 years old and chunking that ball.
He's played over 20 years. That's a lot of experience and takes some cool-headedness. Right on. Good to him. Good for him. That's nice. And he used to be on the Patriots, I remember.
Yeah, he was. And they thought when he went to Tampa that
43 years old.
He was just going.
I think
he was just going to finish up his career in Tampa, and fade away. But no, he went down there and took him a championship down there. He's the man now. You can't say nothing bad about that boy. He can throw that ball.
He cheated though. Hey, to be fair, because he deflated the footballs, and he had two boys first. What a man! No wonder Trump likes him. 3 kids.
But if you think about it, Hake, if you start watching the shows and even the commercials, how the commercials are directed towards homosexuals.
Of course.
Or interracial marriage. And you don't hardly see a white couple doing anything on the commercial anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's either a black and a white or a Mexican, you know. But,
Well, Skip, I appreciate it, man. I'm getting feedback on my voice, and it's distracting me. We'll talk again.
All right, Hake. All right, bud. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care. He's right. They are promoting that stuff left and right in commercials, in TV shows, and all that stuff. That's why I think it is good advice to disengage a bit. You don't need to subject yourself to that mess and support it. Yeah, so Ron DeSantis has been pretty good at keeping his state open, the state of Florida. And that's where the Buccaneers are. Even though they work for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a lesbian mayor. Anyway, I am James Hake. Later today, 4 p.m. my time, 7 Eastern, there is a Bond Sunday Service throwback premiere. And I believe it's called The Knowledge of Good is Evil. Very nice. Check it out. Rebuildingtheman.com/church from June 6th of 2010, I believe it is. I believe. Oh, is it June 6th? I think it is. Anyway, guys, that's that. TheHakeReport.com for my stuff. JesseLeePeterson.com for Jesse Lee Peterson's stuff. All right? Take care.
Yeah.